This is a time of change, but it doesn't have to be a time of loss. As your child steps into adulthood, you are stepping into a new phase of your own life. Hi, I'm Jo Clark, and thanks so much for joining me today. This is the Redefining Midlife podcast, a podcast designed for the 40-plus woman who is determined to challenge society's myths and beliefs around midlife. It's for the woman who is inspired and ready to define midlife her way. Join me each week as I chat to health and wellness experts for up-to-date information on how to live well as some special conversations with incredible everyday women redefining what midlife can look like. Here's to making our next half of life even better than the first. Welcome back to episode 109 of the Redefining Midlife podcast. Whether you're a first time or a regular listener, I do truly appreciate you taking the time to be here with me today. Your support means so much, whether it's simply by listening each week, sharing an episode with someone you know, sending me an email, or connecting with me through a DM on socials. Thank you. And a special shout out to those of you who have gone that extra mile to rate or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Now, your feedback not only lifts me up, but it also helps the show reach more women who could benefit from these conversations. Ratings on Spotify and Apple and reviews on Apple make a big difference when it comes to visibility. So thanks so much for being a part of that. I'd like to share two recent listener reviews. The first is from Leachy111, who wrote, "A great interview with Dr. Shan Hebron. She is so informative. A well-covered topic. Thank you, Jo." Oh, you're so welcome. Now, that interview was actually episode 105, and I'm so glad to hear that information that was shared was helpful to you. Dr. Shan has an incredible amount of knowledge, and she is so very relatable, so mission accomplished. And the second review is from Rosalind at cheerfuldays.com, and it truly touched me. Rosalind wrote, "Jo, your podcast is a shining beacon for women like myself in their 40s and 50s. At 47, I've often felt dismissed by healthcare professionals about perimenopause, but your empathetic focus on this transformative stage is not only refreshing, it's empowering. Every episode feels like an uplifting call to reimagine our vibrant futures with excitement and courage. Thank you for reminding us that it's time to shine and shape the life that we desire and truly deserve. Here's to embracing change and seizing our wonderful, wide-open possibilities. Cheerful vibes, smiles, Rosalind." Rosalind, your words perfectly capture the heart of why I started this whole podcast. My goal has just always been to inform women and to inspire women to see that this time of life, the middle of life, is absolutely full of possibility. And it's such an honour to know that this message is resonating with you. So thanks so much for sharing your thoughts and for embracing this beautiful season of life with big open arms. We really are in such a powerful, exciting time, and there is lots to look forward to. Now, on to today's episode, and I am going to be talking about a transition time that is a little bit of a bit of both, one that can be bittersweet and also one that can be exhilarating. And it's something that many women go through. So perhaps you've already gone through it, maybe you're in the thick of it, or maybe it's a stage or a transition that's coming up for you. I'm talking about that moment when your child finishes high school. It's a major milestone for your kids, but let's not underestimate the emotional journey that it sparks in us as mothers. And for those of us who have gone through this whole journey of when your child finishes school, I think you're going to relate to a lot of what I'm going to say. We've dedicated so many years to nurturing, to guiding, and to supporting our child or our children. And as they step into their futures, it really is only natural for us to experience a big whirlwind of emotions. Perhaps you're feeling proud of their accomplishments, but then you've also got that sense of loss, wondering what your role is going to be in this new chapter. Maybe you're excited about the possibilities that await them. But at that same time, you're actually anxious about how life's going to look like for you, without that familiar rhythm of the school runs, the after-school activities, homework routines, school sports, and so it goes on. So today I'm going to be discussing some of these common emotions, offering insights into how to navigate this significant life shift, because it is a big, significant life shift. And I'm also going to be using this time to encourage you to take this opportunity to rediscover yourself. After all, it's not just their new chapter, it's your new chapter as well. So firstly, I'm going to start by talking about the range of emotions that can emerge. For some mothers, the end of high school feels like a huge celebration because you've successfully guided your child through one of the most important, and I'll actually say difficult phases of their life. And that's something that you should be proud of. But there's often a flip side to that joy. It's not uncommon to feel a bit lost because you have spent years of ensuring your child's success. And now that they're moving forward, you might be asking yourself, what now? Yeah, what about me? What's my role going to be like? And this question can lead to a deep reflection on your identity beyond being just, in inverted commas, mum. I've experienced this myself personally and have had friends go through it as well. And I've worked with many women who have expressed that sense of emptiness. It's a feeling that life's lost a bit of its structure or its purpose without those daily demands of motherhood. So it's important to remember that this sense of loss is perfectly natural. Your role as a mother has been central to your life for years, and now that role is shifting. So just acknowledging these feelings without guilt is the first step to embracing this new phase of your own life. And while this whole transition is challenging, it's also one of those rare opportunities for you to reconnect with yourself. Because for so long now, your needs might have taken a back seat, and I'm going to say, hedge your bet on it, it has taken a back seat to your child's schedules, to their social life, to their ambitions and what they want to do, to their dreams. And now with a little more time and space, it's time to ask yourself, well, what do I want for myself? I've had the privilege of mentoring many women in midlife through this very stage with my Reimagine mentoring program. And what's so special is having that front seat as I guide women as they begin to rediscover who they are. Some are initially unsure of where to start, but through some reflective work, we explore lots of possibilities, the large and the small possibilities, all of these things that are ahead for them. And often, these women are absolutely amazed at the new dreams they've suddenly got, as well as reimagining some of the dreams that they still hold on to, or the aspirations they might have had buried beneath years and years of caregiving. This whole new chapter is all about recognizing that this is your time to flourish, not to fade into the background. So whether you're seeking new hobbies, whether you're thinking about exploring career changes, or even if you're reigniting some of those long lost passions that you've had, the opportunities are absolutely endless, but they do need to be uncovered intentionally. So I'm going to talk about now facing the fear of the unknown. Because one of the things that tends to arise is fear. We don't know what's ahead. Now, you're always going to be mum, but your relationship with your child is going to be different. So what does life look like for you without the role that you've so strongly identified with for so long? How are you going to fill your days when they're no longer anchored by school routines and school functions? You might be thinking, well, is your relationship with your child going to change now that they're becoming more independent? And yes, it will change. And these questions can stir up anxiety, and that's absolutely understandable because this is a major transition. And it's just like as though you've guided your child through life's changes, you now need to guide yourself through this change. So start taking small, deliberate steps towards creating your new normal. And the earlier you can do that, the easier this transition is going to be for you. So maybe that means reimagining what your daily routine is going to look like. Maybe it's setting some personal goals for yourself, or even reaching out to a community of women who are experiencing similar life shifts. Talk to your friends with children who are going to be leaving. Now, over time, I've seen women in my program go from feeling lost to feeling so empowered as they gradually redefine their lives. It's less about replacing the role of you as mum and more about expanding your identity to include the woman that you are beyond motherhood. I want to talk about celebrating your achievements now.
because we spend so much of our time celebrating the milestones of our children that we often forget to recognise our own achievements. So think about the camera roll. You've got lots of shots and lots of stories that you can tell about what your child's done over their last year, but probably not much that you've done. But take a moment to recognise that you've made it through the ups and downs of raising a child to adulthood. That is no small feat. And while that transition might be an emotional one, it's also a moment that you can celebrate just how far that you've come. During this time, just take some stock of your own personal and maybe professional accomplishments that you've had. Are there skills that you've honed over the years that maybe could open up some new doors for you? Is there something that you've always wanted to pursue but you've never had the time? Well, now could be the perfect moment to start exploring these new horizons. And the women I've mentored have often said that these reflective periods have allowed them to see their own worth in a brand new light. They realised that they had more to offer than they previously thought. And this sense of achievement became the foundation for their next steps. Now I want to talk about something else, that whole shift in the family dynamics. So consider the inevitable shift that is going to happen. When your child finishes high school and they begin to forge their own path, whether that's moving on to higher education or starting a job or travelling, this shift can alter the way that your family functions. You might find yourself adjusting to some new routines, new roles within the household, even more time with your partner perhaps, which can be both exciting and challenging. You may have to put up some new boundaries with your newly graduated high school student, or child, I should say, not student. It's important to communicate openly during this time. Talk with your child about their plans and what kind of support they might need from you. But also take this opportunity to redefine your role as a mother in this new phase, because you're no longer guiding them through homework or school events, but you're still a source of wisdom, a source of comfort and support as they navigate the early stages of adulthood. And I'll say it to you right now, this next stage can be one of the trickiest stages of being a mum, because you aren't there all the time for them. You're there as a guide and a mentor. You can't solve their problems. That's probably going to be an episode that we can talk about in the future. But in saying that, I've also found that some mothers discover that this shift opens up doors to new forms of connection that they have with their kids and some deeper conversations and even mutual respect, can you believe it or not, as their relationship with their child evolves. And that's definitely something that I've experienced. Now let's talk more about moving forward with intention. Now, as you step into this new chapter, remember that this is your time too. Your child is embarking on their own journey, and you have the opportunity to embark on yours. And while you may have spent the last few decades prioritizing their needs, now's a moment for you to ask yourself, what do I want to prioritize for myself? So whether that's pursuing new goals, whether it's enhancing your wellness or developing creative outlets, now is a time to move forward with intention. One of the key takeaways from my Reimagine mentoring program is the power of intentionality. That's living with purpose, not just reacting to life's changes, but actively shaping them. So if you're at this crossroads and you're feeling uncertain, please know you're not alone. I encourage you to take this opportunity to reconnect with yourself, explore new avenues, and embrace the possibilities ahead, and talk to other people in the same position as you. But if you're unsure about where to begin or you do need some guidance, please feel free to visit my website, joclarkcoaching.com, to learn more about the Reimagine program. And remember, you can also book a free 20-minute connection call, and we can chat about what's next for you and how to make the most of this exciting new chapter. You can find those links in the show notes. But just some final thoughts before I go. This is a time of change, but it doesn't have to be a time of loss. As your child steps into adulthood, you are stepping into a new phase of your own life. And it's a phase filled with growth, filled with potential, and filled with endless opportunities. So take this time in life as a moment to reimagine your future, to reflect on what truly matters to you, and to move forward with courage and with confidence. Remember, it's your time too. Your opportunity to define what midlife looks like on your terms. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Redefining Midlife podcast. And I'll be in your ears again this time next week with an incredible interview that I have with another amazing midlife woman. So take care until then. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening and sharing your time with me today. I'd love you to hit subscribe on Apple Podcast or your favorite podcast app to keep spreading these empowering messages. Please share this podcast with other incredible midlife women in your world. Join me again next week for another redefining midlife conversation. Thanks again for tuning in.